Am I live? It says I am. Alright, here we go. Fantastic. We're going to get into the drama with the pesticides, learn what's going on. I wanted to specifically go over a video that Pigeons420 did. So we're going to get into that real quick. I asked him permission, just so you guys know. I did talk to him, and he responded to my comment that it was okay to use his video as I chose. So we're just going to go Pigeons420 right here. And wow, the gliders are going absolutely berserk, but we're going to get into this real quick.
Warm, kicking it flat today, baby, because we've got more to the story. If you guys recall, earlier this week, posted a video to my response to the LA Times article released on June 14th in regards to LA's dirty secret when it comes to Cali's legal weed. I didn't phrase that right, but you get my point. I encourage you to go check out that video. Took me less than 20 minutes, kind of broke down.
So basically, in that video that he's referencing right now, I did watch it for the entire context, and I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, he basically went over the results that they were getting when it came to pesticides and how they were dangerously high and that they were using extremely deadly chemicals. And the thing when it comes to that is that when you put something in to get tested and it takes back a certain result, you have a tendency to trust test results. Because as consumers, we have an understanding that they're trying to protect us. And they're trying to get the real numbers out to us so we know exactly what we're ingesting, making it public information, and trying to get that out to us. And what we're about to get into real quick is something that I'm very passionate about, and I have been pretty much ever since like the food industry studies and all that stuff kind of came out and everything was getting exposed as a farce basically. So we'll get into that real quick, but I kind of want to skip ahead right to this section of the video right here.
Individual, the CEO of Catalyst Dispensary, said, you know what? No. I'm not going to leave the answers in the hands of some news publication. I'm going to get to the bottom of it myself. Decided he would then take the top name brands of everyone named in that article and would have those independently tested for pesticides on his own dollar. Check this out.
Catalyst is going to start testing our own shelf randomly. Yes, we are going to spend the money to make sure that everything that we're carrying is clean and test free of pesticides and other contaminants, and we are going to give it to trusted labs to make sure that is the case. And if you pop f***ing dirty, you're banned. That's it. I don't give a f*** who you are, right? And at the end of the day, look, this is hopefully a teachable moment for everybody, but we can't be selling f***ing dirty product. Now, to be clear, we've never had anything test dirty on our shelf, never had a recall batch that was on our shelf. We have no knowledge of anything that ever tested dirty on our shelf. That's it. We need to make sure, if we're all about the customer and we're trying to do the right thing, that what we carry is safe. So look, this is a fucking message to every single brand out there. I don't give a fuck what new SOP you need to do to make sure that you hit our shelf clean, but at the end of the day, we're going to do our own fucking testing because we know the DCC, despite the $135 million in licensing fees, is trash and is not going to clean this up. And I can only speak for Catalyst, but our motherfucking shelf is going to be clean, and we're going to enforce ourselves. And although we're short on resources, we're going to use resources to make sure that everything we carry is clean. I hope the rest of the industry follows suit. Again, only the private sector ever solved the problem in this industry. That aside, it's super important to me when we put the fucking Catalyst name on it, that the consumers can come in and know that it's safe and clean product, and the brands better fucking get it together. Again, the past is the past. I'm not going to guess the chain of custody and relitigate all that. Everybody gets one fucking mulligan. But here forward, we will be fucking testing. And if you pop dirty, we're going to fucking ban you. And if you pop super dirty, you're fucking banned for life, and we're going to fucking blast you. That's it, man. We're all about the customer. We're here to protect them. That's our fucking duty. Our fucking name's on it. That's the SOP going forward. All brands, you're all put on notice. We ain't trying to fucking over-police the industry, but come on, bro. Bring your product in clean.
It's not really random. All our best sellers
and anybody that was in that article. We will let the test speak for itself. But you got my word as the CEO of this company. Anything that has a Catalyst name on it, gonna be clean, motherfucking for the people.
So Elliot Lewis.
Yeah, Elliot Lewis. He goes over the problem very well. Gives a lot of context. I love his passion. Basically, I believe pretty much the same thing, which is why I wanted to talk about it. Elliot Lewis going around, he wants a pure product, a healthy product for the people that does not have pesticides. Now, if you haven't seen and you don't catch up with Goblin 420, he also did a great video on this, and I recommend you go check it out. But Goblin 420, he was looking at Los Angeles weed, which is where a lot of this stuff is sprouting out, and that's going to be pretty relevant in a minute. Why specifically Los Angeles when this problem is being reported countrywide? It could have something to do with it being one of the biggest cannabis distributors currently, and it also could just have to do with population density, why it's being focused there, simply because there's more people, therefore more people smoking weed. And I think that more people need to make a clear stand and a public standing that their stuff is getting tested randomly and that they're coming up clean and that they're going to make sure it happens. And that's going to be very important in a minute when we get through a little bit more of this video.
CEO of Catalyst took all the best brands named in the LA article and decided that he was going to get them tested. Makes up a very good point in regards to why he's doing the testing, but his reasoning, it makes perfect sense. Weed for the people, by the people. If the government won't do these regulatory tests, he will. And I respect that. Surprisingly enough, as someone who comes from Canada, I actually couldn't believe at how fast the testing took place.
My mic sound is doubled. That's different. Here, let me see if I can switch the... Is it still doubled if I do this? Are you guys still hearing too? And also, would I be able to even hear the video like this? Here, let's test it out real quick.
And now?
Yes, I can. Oh shit, that's not good. If you've ever shopped in LA or a Cali for that matter, the difference in cannabis quality is insane. They have cannabis that is great, and they have some that is literally brown. It'll be the same dispo. Yeah, so that has a lot to do with how long that specific... Wow. What the fuck? That has to do with that specific bud being on the shelf for so long. I've seen it in grocery stores where they'll have like CBD buds set up, and they will have like just the brownest, most disgusting looking herb you've ever seen. I don't know why it's doubled up. That's very strange. It's not doubled up for me. Because I can hear myself through the microphone and it's not doubled up. Maybe it has something to do with your end. And Nimbus, are you facing the same issue? Or is it just AB? Because... Yeah, so it might just have something to do with AB's setup. That could be definitely possible. But we're going to continue here. He gets into some serious stuff, and I don't want to listen to myself through the microphone, so I'm going to switch back up my headphones real quick.
We have the results, and might not be what you think.
I'm very happy. Everybody, tested clean,
for me.
And they
I
passed.
don't know what's going on.
I'm relieved, to be honest with you. We didn't want to find anybody dirty out there, but patience always comes first. I want to thank Nate for moving so quick on it and for chiming in on this live. And look, we'll continue down this road. I'm getting educated.
They all tested clean. This brings a lot of questions into the LA Times article and where they got their material for testing. Through their own words, they took material from legal dispensaries, had it sent off to their own testing labs, and then found that each and just about every cart product had contaminants of pesticides. Well, one dispensary owner takes all of these same named carts, gets them tested, and finds no abundance of contamination, or none for that matter. So then I pose the question, who is lying? And if nobody's lying, where did these test results come from that suggest there's a contamination of pesticides in legal?
Okay, so up to this point, we're only hearing the dispo side, and I have a theory that could have to do with why we're getting different testing results. Why exactly could this have changed? Or if it didn't change, why is it coming up different? So I want to tackle the first question first, and then the second question a little bit later. But why could it have changed? Why is it possible that it's different? Well, we're in an industry where people are looking for max profit for the lowest amount of effort. We have a green rush, and whether you want to admit it or not, we're still in that area. We're still in the era of cannabis legalization where we're not federally legal, but you can sell by state. Why that's important is that we have no real federal enforcement when it comes to what we can use, and that takes a lot of the seriousness away from actually setting up a business that works. And one of the things that could have happened in my mind is that we have a cannabis business. Let's say we're Weed Inc. We'll just call it Weed Inc. So you open Weed Inc. and you're a big dispensary, and you have all these taxes, all these bills. I mean, you're opening a building, which you have to pay rent on land that you have to pay taxes on and inside you have a grow room potentially that you have to fund, not only paying the electric bill and the water bill, but you also have to pay for the nutrients, the pH chemicals, the purification methods, everything you have to pay for, adding to your overhead. Not to mention the employees and the benefits, everything that comes with that. This is why I don't usually buy carts regardless. Dispo or plug, it doesn't matter. They just always test hot for contaminants anytime they're heavily studied in mass. I know certain brands have really high standards, but the bulk is crappy quality. I'd rather just smoke flower. I love homegrown flower. It's my favorite thing to smoke. But back to what I was saying is, if you're paying all this overhead, it's a huge risk to your bottom line and your profits. And that is something that is on the red radar for every CEO and business manager. So what do you do to maximize your profits? You have to ensure that it's not going to get taken out by something that is either a bug or a mold or something like that. So adding these poisons to your plants is going to increase the probability of you being able to harvest that plant, whether it's in good standing or not. So what could be happening is, in between the testing that had heavy pesticides, they could have changed management to people who were getting out of the green rush and said, this isn't worth it, I'm not making profits. And that's something that's also happening in the esports industry right now, is a lot of people are pulling out because it's not profitable. And they'll pull out because it's not profitable, sell the business to someone else. It goes under different management, and they are a lot more ethical and a lot more healthy. Then they do the testing again. It tests for no pesticides. That's one theory that could possibly, maybe, allegedly be happening. And I have no knowledge to back that up. It's just a theory. I have no idea. I've never looked into the owners of these businesses. But if you're sampling a lot of businesses, there's a lot of factors that can go into play, and that's just one of them.
Product. I mentioned this on Wednesday when I did the live show, that to me, there are a number of people that benefit from an article that states that you can't rely or have faith in the legal system. People were thinking, wow, the LA Times is a bunch of leftist folks that would have no need to push this kind of narrative. Well, who's paying the LA Times? Who's paying for these kind of articles? Who's paying for a hit piece to be done on the legal cannabis sector so that they could benefit? Well, I can name a few. You've got pharma, you've got tobacco, you've got alcohol, you've got anti-cannabis law advocates. All of these people and entities would benefit from the LA Times. Well, as a matter of fact, currently, as of February 7th, 2018, Tribune Publishing, formerly Trunk Inc., agreed to sell the LA Times and its two other Southern California newspapers, the San Diego Union Tribune and the HOY, Ahoy, to billionaire biotech investor Patrick Soon-Shiong. Who is Patrick Soon-Shiong? Let's just take a quick look, shall we? Patrick Soon-Shiong is a South African-American business investor, medical researcher, philanthropist, and transplant surgeon. He is the inventor of the drug Embraxin. Pharmaceuticals. Imagine that. So I don't have to go very far to see who benefits from defaming a plant that heals people rather than contributing to a pharmacare system that enriches very few. Now, because I don't want to end up like the Boeing boys, I'm going to digress slightly.
Okay, so he makes a really good point here, and I have a lot to expand on it. And this point specifically is why I wanted to do this reaction. This is why I wanted to do this video. Some of these facilities in LA are massive. There is no way they're getting rid of any pest infestations without resorting to some pretty strong chemicals in most cases. Yeah, and that's why this is super important to talk about. There is going to be huge problems when it comes to the poisons they would be required to use when it comes to trying to get rid of that amount of pests. But if they're not using those, and this pharmaceutical CEO is behind it, one of the things that could allegedly be happening is something that we saw in the sugar industry, and something we see with people with Munchausen syndrome, and or Munchausen by proxy. And allegedly, what could maybe possibly be happening, not to be accusatory and not to get sued, is allegedly, hypothetically, possibly, what could be going on is that this CEO bought samples legally to then send them in and have them tested. But instead of actually having them tested, what a lot of Munchausen by proxy people will do is they will go to a specific doctor or a web of doctors to find one that would be willing to either straight up lie or to more likely take a bribe to get results that they're looking for to then prescribe their child with medications that they don't need, therefore making them sicker than they were if they were sick at all, and garnering a certain attention from the peers and people around them to fulfill their needs to push a certain message to the public. And that's something you can see with the Gypsy Rose documentary. This phenomenon can be explained pretty well. And if you look into the sugar industry, what they did was they would pay scientists to skew the numbers or push a propaganda to make it so that people would think that fat was the problem when it was really them knowing how bad sugar was for you, but pushing it as a better fuel source, a more efficient fuel source than fat. And people, that's where the misconception comes that if you eat high-fat foods, you're going to get fat, when in fact it's the fact that, at least in my culture, we overindulge in carbohydrates like sugar, and that's what contributes a lot of calories to our diet, making us fat because we have so much stored energy, rather than the fat, which metabolizes and digests slower, being a more efficient fuel source for the body. So that's one of those things where this phenomenon can be seen, and it looks like we could be seeing it again in the cannabis industry. But again, it could be change management, it could be a lot of terrible things, but it also could just be that this guy was able to find a lab that would take a bribe, and he bribed them into giving him faulty results. It's very possible. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but it's very possible that that could have happened.
One thing that I think is very important to ask is, where is the outrage from the possibility of an article being written that defames our plant?
Yeah, I know some stuff. I also have a couple of theories, but I've been, ever since a young age, I've been lied to a lot, not only by parents, but also by teachers and everybody. And once you find out a lie, when you have a brain like mine, you want to find out what the truth is behind a lot of things, so you kind of obsessively dig for things that you want to know. And I want to know as much as I possibly can. So I know a couple of things. And I also know business pretty well. Being involved in a couple as an employee, I've been able to study business models and balancing time and schedules and all of that stuff. So I do have a lot of experience in industries, and I have a lot of backed knowledge because of how long I've been studying cannabis in general. So I do know a couple of things. Thank you for the chats. Cinder Next, Nimbus, and also AB. I appreciate having you guys here. If you are enjoying the stream, don't be shy and leave a like. I appreciate it. And if you think more people need to know this knowledge, go ahead and share this stream or the video that comes out of it that I plan on doing. It really helps the channel out a lot and gets exposure to these things that are happening in the industry so people can also know their shit. I think it's very important to spread information. That's one of the passions behind why I wanted to do this and why the evolution of the channel is going in a certain direction, is because I want to be a hub of information to share to people.
Where's the outrage? Why aren't people upset? I'm scouring the same reference points that I was using to determine whether this article was real or not, and I don't see any outrage in regards to this kind of action by anyone. Was it malice? I'm not saying it was, but why aren't we asking questions? Why aren't we asking, why would they do an article like this? Where's the outrage? Why aren't we screaming, hey, look at this blatant discrimination on our plant using no proof and a wad of lies? I don't.
Okay, so Pigeons, if you're watching this, you do great input and make a lot of good points here. I do, however, have a point to be countered with this. The reason the public won't ask questions about these kinds of things, and the reason people are getting outraged about pesticides being in our cannabis and studies coming back extremely dirty at dangerous levels in our flower and our concentrates and everything when it comes to dispensaries, the studies that are showing that could possibly maybe lies. But when it comes to the American industry, I feel like in most cases we already knew. Yeah, that's fair. But when it comes to the American industry, where most of this stuff is coming from, we have a lot of corrupt people that own businesses that have no problem killing hundreds of thousands of people to make millions of dollars. And the American public, when they react to things, they will take the article, they will read the study numbers, and since it says study by science lab, we tend to trust that. Why? Because we feel like we should be able to. Is that the case? Solemnly. It is very rare that you can not trust scientific test results. However, when you don't look into things and you don't know who the test results were made from, you don't know who the samples were submitted from, which until your video, I had no idea about that situation and how much of it could possibly have been a lie. The LA Times just finally reported on it, but with that level of volume and you can expect some bad apples at least. Okay, Nimbus, that's very possible, but at the same time, the independent studies came back clean, so it's very possible that we're not facing that issue. But when the American public reacts to things, we will take things at face value and run with it. And we'll say, look at these evil corporations, we legalized dispensaries, and now they're poisoning us, giving us brain damage, giving us seizures. They are controlling the public to ingest more poison. The reason we don't ask a lot of questions is because that has happened time and time again. I mean, literally think about it. We had propaganda since like the 80s and 90s that cereal is a good breakfast. That cereal is high quality part of a balanced breakfast when in fact it is basically eating candy in milk. Like, we are far gone a lot of the times from what we should know, and that is common sense when it comes to diet. Obviously, processed puffs that are basically powdered sugar should not be ingested as frequently as we do. But we do it anyway because we are highly propagandized. And one of the things we're propagandized by is that if a test result comes out, there's no possible fucking way that could have been altered by somebody. That's not a conclusion we normally jump to. Again, he does make a lot of good points and has a lot of good insight, but this is one of the things I wanted to make a note on, is that everything is such a mess and is so controlled by money that it does not matter unless you read up on everything, and that's something that people rarely do. That's my basic point when it comes to all this.
I just don't see it. I don't see it. And, you know, I don't know Elliot from a hole in the wall, but his response to having the product come back negative for pesticides is underwhelming. Just a live stream I found with him making an off comment. Where's the passion in the videos about why they're doing an article like this defaming our products? I don't see it. And it kind of leads question. Did somebody pay him overnight? Did he get a visit from the men in black that came in and said, hey, these tests, you're asking too many questions, you need to change it up? Did someone, Liam Neeson him? I don't know. He's quote unquote being educated.
I'm getting educated.
But I have more questions now than I did before. So where is the safe weed? Well, I got an answer for you. And it's in your house because you're home growing. You're taking care of your own supply. You are not reliant on other people. Now, of course, there are people that do rely on others to get a good, clean, quality supply. That's why I think people like Elliot do us a service by having this onus of responsibility put on themselves. It's weed for the people. The dispensary, the shelf, has the power. They can say no to any product. They can say no to whatever they like. And as long as the product is turning out to be clean, it's in their best interests to keep pushing clean product to the people.
All right, I gotta pee real quick, but I'll be right back. So I don't know if this would be like enforceable or something that you guys would think would be a good idea, but what if we had each individual dispensary have their products to be sent in, and then required to check the validity of the tests, and then also have them have the tests ready for display for each customer that comes in. I know it would be kind of weird, and it would also fuel the need for more corruption, but I really don't know what direction we should be going in to ensure that we have safe cannabis in dispensaries, other than just having the law crack down on them and inspect them all individually, but that would take a lot of resources and just a lot of effort. So I don't know how much that would be like feasible, if that makes sense.
Again, I'm not sure who's right. I'm not sure who's wrong. The LA Times drops this article earlier this week that blows up. People are talking about it. People are talking about the pesticides. People are talking about how they got the product. People are talking about the brands named. Is it a coincidence that the largest names are mentioned in this article? I don't know. But something leads me to believe that the largest names are in their position because they've taken quality control seriously. But I pass the question off to you. Maybe this is just the wool over.
So I agree with this. If you have a quality, safe product, you're more likely to get a better fan base and customer base. But at the same time, the reason that the biggest names would be mentioned in this article is because they're the biggest targets. And it would really be hard to miss with a propaganda machine. Who else would you go for? Like if I was trying to defame a company and I wanted to go after a candy company, first name that comes to your head, Nestle. Not only are they Nestle, but now they also own Gerber. And if you wanted to defame a platform, you would go after someone like Nestle, who has done their own fair share of evil things in the past that I won't get into in this live stream, but they're not a super great company in my opinion, and they make a lot of bad calls and have a very low standard for a moral compass. But that's completely besides the point. But if I wanted to defame someone and I wanted to have test results sent in and I wanted to have them skewed to make people think they're dangerous, I would go after Nestle and I would send in samples of candy and I would be like, look how actually inedible this stuff is and how much it can poison and kill you. Nestle should be losing business, and in the meantime I come up with something and sell something that's a lot more dangerous. But since you're so focused on Nestle being bad, my stuff kind of flies under the radar. So that's kind of how that phenomenon would work. Instead of going to cannabis in this case, they're going to pharmaceuticals. So I think this was a very good video to go over, and I think he made a lot of good points and had a lot of good insight. If you are not yet, dude, go follow Pigeons420. He does a lot of good content and whatnot. And here are the receipts that ask permission. Once it's on YouTube, it's there for the world to critique. I think he has a very good outlook on the public and also fair use. I appreciate him for letting me react to this video, but I just kind of wanted to go over it and let you guys know kind of my theories behind everything that's going on, and maybe the cannabis is safe. And just for you guys who want to know, I'm smoking on something called deep fried ice cream. It's a bud that I got from Hiker's Cannabis, which I'm sure is all right and I'm sure is safe. I know the guy there and have had conversations with him, and he's really passionate about high quality product and keeping everyone safe and just giving out the best medication possible. And I appreciate his message as well. Yeah, it's one that I plan on doing a pheno hunt on, and it'll be pretty exciting. I actually found where I can get feminized seeds for it. But I just wanted to talk about pesticides going on, and maybe we could look into something real quick. Look into Michigan. And as for growing yourself, that's obviously where you're going to get the best medication, because you know everything you're putting on that plant and when. You know how safe everything is, and you know exactly what you're putting into the plant. So if you cannot grow yourself, definitely look for a quality caregiver. And actually, one of my selling points when I would gift cannabis to people is like, hey, I have this document where you can go and look at how each plant is grown, And if you are asking for lemon kush from me and I want to gift it to you, you can look and go see how my lemon kush was grown and everything I did with it. Because at the time I was doing Grow With Me series week by week, where I would recap everything I did the week before up to that point and be like, hey, this is how the growing is going. This is what I've been using. This is when I stopped using these things for this reason. And I think it would be a very good piece of information. And if you're going into the caregiver route, and you want to be able to sell to your patients and give them the best medication possible, it could be very beneficial to have your own documentation and be like, look, this is everything I'm doing with my plants. I've written down everything I put on them when I stopped for this reason. And if you want to go with me, if you want to go with someone else, perfectly fine. Because not everyone can grow physically, financially. Not everyone can grow. And I think automated systems where it's going to make it easier for disabled to grow and elderly to grow, it's going to be very beneficial when more states open up a medicinal program where you can get a caregiver and you can grow more plants and have more stock for them. And I think it's going to be very beneficial when we actually get to the bottom of the pesticide issue in the cannabis industry. Michigan marijuana pesticide list 2/28/24. The following provides guidance for use of pesticides in marijuana. Reference to any pesticide product does not indicate acceptance or approval of these products by the Michigan Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, MDARD, as safe and effective controlling pests in production of marijuana. And then we got all these things, which I'm not exactly well versed on names of pesticides and what they do off the top of my head, so I would actually have to read a list and go over these things specifically. But if you want to pause and read all this mumbo jumbo, you could definitely do that if you would like. But the thing that bothers me about pesticides and stuff is there's also not a point they need to stop, to my knowledge. So they could do it all through the flower stage if they so desired. Because again, a lot of the people making laws on this are not understanding what they're talking about and not understanding how to legislate such a product because they don't understand anything about it. And you can also see that a lot when it comes to gun laws, people not knowing what they're talking about, not even knowing the words for things like magazine, stock, handle, barrel, select, fire, action. Like they wouldn't be able to name off any component of the weapon, let alone its caliber or its feet per second, or understand how like the gunpowder inside could influence the weapon. They have no idea about anything they're making laws about, which makes it extremely, extremely difficult to actually figure these things out. But that's also why I believe that we should be rotating people in Congress and rotating people in the government a lot more often, and that a lot more people should have term limits, both amount of years and how many terms they can serve. I don't think it should just be reserved for the president. I don't want to print that. I don't think it should just be reserved for the president. I think that everyone should be getting rotated out and capped, and also not paid for life. Maybe for 5 years after you've served your sentence, maybe you need to get a better job or a different job. But yeah, there's a huge list of things that it seems they're allowed to use. And I mean, it can be scary if you don't know what you're looking into and how dangerous it is for people. What is the top of this last REI? I don't know what REI stands for. home use, commercial production, indoor production, outdoor production, agricultural use, non-plant contact only. So basically giving you the ways they can use it, the names of the companies that are using it, and the products, active ingredients, the types and everything. So that's pretty good that they're going over all that. But yeah, there's just this huge list, which is absolutely crazy. But hopefully the companies are being responsible in what they're using and how much. But I just wanted to get into this and talk about this pesticide issue. I think that's going to be about it for today. Expect a video about this coming in the future. I definitely want to expand on it, make it condensable and digestible. But thank you guys for talking up in the chat. Thank you guys for joining the stream, and thank you guys for leaving your likes and whatnot. I definitely appreciate it, and I hope you can join me next time. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about, but there will be a next time. Well, there's more chat. That for some reason didn't pop up, it looks like. What's good? I am certified old guy. I think all dispos should... it doesn't affect me, though, because I smoke all my own flower. Shout out to you, Blitzkrieg. That's really good for you. And all my resin comes from a homie, and I don't know the entire process. I know his entire process, seed to banger. That's exactly what we need to get more people on, is knowing the entire process that they're going through. Okay. I know so many people who just don't care, though. People still puff black market plug carts despite all the data we have on those. That's what's dangerous about the industry. Yep. People not having knowledge or just not caring is extremely damaging to the industry. So many people don't want to do research. They just want to learn about cannabis. They don't want to learn about cannabis. They just want to smoke. Big facts. The I don't care what I'm smoking. I just want to get high. To each their own, but I want to be educated about anything I enjoy. Same here, man. I hold the same stuff. More from Blitzkrieg. I don't need to be educated about everything I enjoy, but if it's something I am going to ingest or digest, yep, those are the most important ones. If you have a multivitamin company that you're looking into, if you have a specific diet, if you have things you ingest or digest like cannabis, you definitely want to know everything you can about it. You better believe I'm educating myself. Goddamn right, or else you wouldn't be here. It's important to be educated consumer of anything. Yes, it is. To try their own secondary testing on top of the brands test. I just like the guy in the beginning with what the guy in the beginning with Catalyst is doing. I also think the same thing. Just sending in your stuff to get tested, as many as possible. 100% Nimbus, I think it should be 15 to 20 years term. I think it should be lower than that. I think that if you're going into Congress, you should be set like maybe 10 years is your max. Am I not allowed to talk about my channel? You can talk about your channel if it's relevant, I guess, but don't just mindlessly plug your stuff. My bad, bro. I didn't mean to do something I wasn't supposed to. You're good. I didn't even see you really talk about your channel other than asking if you could talk about it. So, I mean, you're fine. I am certified old guy. I don't know much about your channel, but we could probably look into it, or I'll look into it sometime. But yeah, overall, crazy situation. It's a big fucking mess, along with every single thing in the industry right now. Just big on knowing your stuff, knowing where it comes from, who's doing the actual articles, and who is basically putting the information out there is going to be all things that are important and all things that you need to really pay attention to if you want to have healthy cannabis. But thank you guys for joining the chat. Thank you for joining the live. Thank you for hitting the like button. Definitely appreciate it. Watch it, bro. I am new but doing good. That's good to hear, man. Glad you're doing well. I hope everyone's doing well, and I hope everyone has a great day. But that's going to be it for me. I have been CE420. If you want to subscribe, hit the like, share, all that good stuff. And I appreciate having the conversation because I think this stuff is important to talk about.